Okay, so the first thing I saw when I exited the stairs was this like display case with like a life-size bust, or like not even a bust. It was like a figure of Yoda, Hermit Yoda.
Okay, I was like preparing my mind there for anything very, sexualized or
Yeah,
kinky.
yeah. Well,
But
it's coming.
Yoda?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
wasn't it was a normal like Yoda figure, like a big one, and right next to
Okay.
it was like a fucking solid like 150 centimeter horse dildo.
Was it attached to Yoda or
No,
was it
they were
just a
just next
separate
to
thing?
each other.
Okay.
I was really like, why? Is it for size? What's going on here? And that kind of just set the tone for the rest of the experience because like they had they had like a specialized vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
literally a vacuum cleaner, but
Hmm.
except for like on the suction, like what do you call it? Like the suction foot, like you know,
Yeah. The
it was
suction
just
head.
like a fleshlight kind of hole.
Okay. But I've never. So now we're getting okay. We're maybe not gonna go there, but is that even like good?
I don't know. I've never tried it. I thought that was the kind of thing
Okay.
that only showed up in movies like American Pie or a Scary Movie and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean it seems so parodic. I mean it seems so. Can it be? I mean I know you say suck dick, but it's not.
It's
It's not in a literal sense.
it's not like vacuumed.
No, it's not like fucking.
Humidus Podcast.
Welcome, beautiful listener, to the Humidus Podcast with Hammer and
Steph coming at you live from the spires of the hive cities.
of course, and isolated from uh, certain infectious viral diseases.
Yeah, there has been speculation that a Nurgle plague has taken hold of the lower levels, but that is of course pure heresy and the machinations of the impure.
Yes, and Exterminatus was promptly issued.
On your authority.
And we are safe up here in the spires, so we're going to be bringing you some good discussions, and we're going to talk a little bit about something we actually forgot to talk about last podcast, which was Project Athia,
Yeah,
also known as Forspoken.
yeah, that's right. We completely forgot about it.
We got carried away.
Yeah. Um, what did you think about it though?
Yeah, I mean, the graphics looked, of course, very much AAA insane, like typical Square Enix production.
Yeah.
It was, but I kind of got the feeling that it's gonna be more exploration and maybe survival focused
Hmm.
than uh, like direct combat. Maybe just more, I don't know, more evasion and protection,
Yeah, that could be.
and of course traversal, which seemed like a huge part of it.
Yeah, and
But yeah.
yeah, the traversal especially is and her powers, like
Mm.
these kind of druidic, super nature invoking powers, and like
Absolutely.
that crazy looking traversal looks sick.
It looks like the nature and environments looks really, yeah, like you said, like druidic and ancient, Mother Earthy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah, the reason that I felt that it was a little less kind of combat direct or kind of fighty was that it was so, you know, naturey, and it felt more like it was uh, it was like kind of just trying to maybe incapacitate and evade
Oh
potential
yeah.
huge dangers, or yeah, circumnavigate them and maybe defeat them in not non-direct ways. which is just an impression. I mean, I can't really base that on. It was just a 1 minute long trailer, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I can see where you're coming from with that. But the other thing about it was that we saw the first trailer for this back in what was it? One of the showcases
Mm-hmm.
towards like the later half of last year, in
Mm.
which we also thought it looked pretty interesting. It looked like the most interesting game amongst a sea of derivative games, right?
Yeah,
Because there was at
absolutely.
least like 4 or 5 titles that were like, this woman has a connection with nature. She walks around with a staff and communicates with animals and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah,
And this one looked like the more interesting of that bunch.
absolutely.
But there's one thing that bothers me that caught me off guard,
Hmm.
which killed the hype a little bit for me. And that was when it turns out it's an isekai. It's it's like a girl or like a lady from our world
Mm.
somehow being transported to another world.
Yeah, and that's like a little bit more evident from her dialogue when she's like shocked to see the creatures and stuff.
Yeah,
Or
and
yeah.
there's this part where she also is in a city, right? Where that dragon comes in and she's wearing normal
Hmm.
modern clothes.
Yeah.
And that was like, at first I was like, oh, are they gonna go that route? And then came the thing that really bothered me. Was like, is that a motherfucking dragon? Or whatever she said. And I was
Yeah.
just like, nah, come on, guys.
Yeah, and
I,
that's
I,
such like they try to create some kind of hype or something
yeah,
with that.
yeah, and it just didn't fit at all in my opinion. I thought it was like,
No.
oh man, that kind of killed the buzz quite a bit for me. But then after they showed the gameplay with the traversal and stuff, it's like, okay, that looks cool. I want more of that. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like how the Monster Hunter movie apparently was like completely ruined by having it's actually military people from our world that get sucked into the Monster Hunter world or some bullshit. Just like I don't
Mm, yeah.
uh, that plot device didn't do that movie any favors, and I just don't think it's gonna do this game any favors either.
No. No, I mean, we talk about this a lot, but like games are often a creative release for people or just an escape from their day-to-day work
Yeah.
and average, existence. And the thing is that you always want to things have to be a little bit self-contained, and when you bring for instance our modern day life into it, it kind of attaches itself to the modern day timeline as well, and kind of takes it out of that special space where it's just a self-contained world. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I get that feeling when I see that myself.
Yeah.
When you mentioned it, I mean, yeah,
You want that like total escapism, I guess.
absolutely. And it's just I know it's just a small thing, but it's like when you can't choose the character of your. I mean, sometimes you don't want the story to be too linear. You don't want the character to be too unlike yourself, because
Right.
that can break you a little bit out of that fantasy
Mm-hmm.
where you could be the character. When the character makes like certain choices that you were like, oh, I didn't really want to do that,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. But I mean, some people enjoy that, of course. But for me, I like to kind of have that fantasy of, living into the specific universe.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you mentioned that because I've been watching an anime lately, which
Hmm.
just finished its first season, which is called Mushoku Tensei, which translated means jobless reincarnated. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you know how it's based on a Japanese light novel series, and all light novel series are famous for their super on the nose titles, you know.
Yeah.
But then this is considered like the light novel series is considered kind of like the progenitor the first comer for a lot of those isekai, like another world, travel to
Yeah.
get transported to another world kind of genre, right? So
Hmm.
it came before a lot of them, apparently. But and it has a lot of good things going for it because it's about this like soon to me middle-aged, useless, fat weeb dude who's like sitting there fapping to, you know, visual novels and just like eating cup ramen and whatever. And then
Hmm.
he just hasn't amounted to anything in his life, and bullying made him shut himself in and all that. And then, of course, he gets hit by a truck as he's finally taking a step to help a girl that he sees as being bullied, and then he dies. And instead of, instead
Yeah.
of actually getting transported as is into the world, he actually gets completely reborn as an infant.
Okay.
But he contains his consciousness as a like what 35-year-old or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
So he can just apply that just with a completely restarted life in a fantasy setting, and the animation is really good. Everything's really good about it. But then he makes choices such as like really creepy. You know how anime is no stranger to like weird, perverted stuff, right?
No.
And
No.
creepy shit.
Absolutely not.
But a lot of times it's excused as like, let's say, accidents or like they didn't do it on purpose or they bumped into people, these kind of things. Which is like, all right,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But then you have times where it's crossing the line towards more rapey, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Seven Deadly Sins was completely ruined for me by that because the Meliodas, the main guy, he's literally molesting his way into the heart of the main girl.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's justified because she eventually falls in love with him. I'm just like, fuck, no. If that happened
Mm.
to someone in real life, he would be sent to the police immediately. And this guy in this series as well has moments where he's just, and mind you, he's in the body of a 10-year-old, but he's a 35-year-old in his mind.
Mm.
And there's
I can
these,
see where this is going.
yeah, it's bad. It's like it's moments where I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Why do you, this is not this is hurting your show because
Yeah.
like there's like one scene where there's this chick who's like one of the main chicks that he's like romantic interest, but also a pretty featured character.
Hmm.
And the dad keeps telling him that, yeah, but if and she's 12 or something, mind you, and he's like, yeah, but if you're interested in my daughter, I can have her tied up and sent delivered to your bed tonight. I'm like, wait, what?
What? The
What the
father
fuck?
says that?
Yeah, he's a bit fucked up. And then she eventually does show up, not like that, but of her own free will and whatever. But then, of course, she's
Hmm.
12, so she's not prepared for this, and he's 10. So I don't fucking know what they were trying to do with this. But then he kind of, loses control and tries to, like, go for shit. And then she punches him, rejects him, and, like, says, like, no, you have to wait 5 or 6 years. I was like, this scene is like, what the fuck was this? This is not cool. This,
Mm.
like, I can't justify this, man. It's no, it's
Yeah. I mean, it's very weird when you have that kind of thought experiment with a 35-year-old, or was he 30?
35, I
Uh,
guess. Yeah.
35 in like a 10-year-old's body. I mean, why is it? What makes it pedophilic? Is it the physical age of the the vessel, or is it the mind? And but a lot of people would say that it is absolutely the mind,
Yeah.
because in sexual terms and in mental terms, children are so vulnerable to be manipulated, and that's why such things must be shunned and not explored.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, and another thing though, like even if you look past that, like you try really fucking hard and look past that, there's still also the
Mm,
fact that he just like she's sleeping and he's just like thinks it's a completely good idea to just grope her, you know,
yeah, yeah,
these kind of things, and it's just like, bruh, uh,
yeah.
th- this is like, it's not cool. And the worst part is this show, overall, those parts aside, Sometimes it deals with sexual themes very, very maturely, like realistically even, when it's not about them. When it's about other characters, they portray it in ways like consequences of cheating in a marriage. And there's a lot of things there that are very mature and explored in a good way that I felt like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this, but this was really well done.
But
And
like, but
yeah,
but hold on. Is he reborn into this world or like the same world just as a child, or is he reborn into like some
a fantasy
afterlife?
world.
Okay, a fantasy world. Okay.
Yeah. So and he can like he becomes like a prodigy with magic because he wants to do everything over again. He realizes he got a blank slate and he has an aptitude for magic and he just studies the hell out of it.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's kind of like, but and all of that is really well done. The magic is really cool. The animation is brilliant and the fighting is excellently animated. Everything is great. A lot of the characters are really cool too. It's just that
Yeah.
like once the show gets on a roll and you're like, wow, I'm really enjoying this. Then comes these rapey things and I'm like, what why do you have to
Well,
ruin my
yeah.
fun with this shit?
I don't know what it is. I mean, like J- the Japanese, they like to kind of mix that in there.
Yeah, they do, but
But
this is
this is too far.
still yeah. I mean, of course, it gets overshadowed by the fact that redo of a healer is running right now, which is like that times
Yeah.
1 million, and it makes it a plot point. It's like the ultimate fucking piece of train wreck shit garbage. Um,
Yeah.
like it's like horrible. It's complete trash. But then this one is getting a lot of hype because it does a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But just like I don't know, man, that really bothered me. And I talked to some of my friends about it, and they're like, "No, but you gotta think that it's in a child's body, and like blah blah blah." It's just yeah, but that doesn't justify the rapiness though. That he just gropes them, think it's okay to grope them while they sleep, and it's just a lot of these kind of things that are like, well, but if you think about someone doing that in real life, you know,
Yeah.
suddenly it
Yeah.
becomes a very
That's
different thing.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you thought about a 35-year-old doing something like that, because that's basically what it is, even
Yeah,
if you're trapped in, I mean, if you were trapped in a 10-year-old boy's body,
yeah.
even though you had the physical vessel, you wouldn't be, sexually attracted to uh, peers in
No,
age. I would
no, fuck
presume. I
no.
mean, yeah, but I mean, you would presume that because if your mind is intact, then it's hard to say what percentage of sexuality is purely contained in physical form and like levels of hormones and stuff like that. But I would assume that you would be interested in the same girls that you are now and contain
Yeah,
that.
and I also think that you would struggle with becoming friends with those that are physically the same age as you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine how boring it is to kind of play with and associate with people who can't even imagine, your level of, of insight and maturity.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so many things that are weird about it. But those things, you can look past because that's more like it's harmless.
Yeah,
But as soon as it goes to the and he
to the
does get
sexual
along
side.
with yeah, but he does get along with adults as well. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
doing
Okay.
so these things are fine. It's just it's literally just the rapey things that bothers me. I just like yeah. Anyway, rant over.
Mm.
It's otherwise a really good show. So if you can kind of just like try and look past those parts, it's actually a very solid show. Um, but yeah,
Sounds.
do be consider yourself warned. But if you're an anime fan, you probably watched it already. So
Yeah, anime fans get a little bit accustomed to those kind of quips, those kind of weird side angles to the series, and
yeah,
yeah,
but if you want some real life context to it as well,
yeah,
like I said, I lived 4.5 years in Japan. right? And this, like the whole groping while they sleep thing and all that, similar things I heard stories about like quite often from girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
seriously?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There would be like, for example, there's this one girl I know, who she was at like this camp. It was like a social event with the university, and they have like they usually sleep in futons, right? So it's kind of like a,
Mm-hmm.
for those who don't know, it's kind of like a mix between like what do you call it? A normal mattress mixed with a sleeping bag, so to speak. And they were lying in those and whatever, and then as she was about to fall asleep, this one Japanese guy that was with them on that trip, he just like slipped into her futon and started like, just, fondling her. And just suddenly he's proclaiming that he's interested in her as he's doing this.
Okay,
Uh,
that's not the usual approach, but
yeah.
Jesus.
But and I'm not saying that this is like a common thing for Japanese men specifically. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that like um, I did hear of it quite often, like similar
Hmm.
stories to that, and groping, and they're more. It's more like the animes and stuff being like this is usually a sign of the culture, to like parts of the
Yeah.
culture. Their views on certain things
Hmm.
that haven't come, for example, equality, gender equality, and these kind of things haven't maybe come as far as in parts of the Western world.
No.
So there's
I mean,
yeah.
but I too have heard like stories from friends that are very disturbing, and that's here in Norway,
Yeah.
um, and kind of from like from a good guy perspective, I guess you could say, that's kind of shocking. I mean, I'm always the guy who gets up and defend, the male perspective,
Yeah.
and I've always felt that a lot of guys get a lot of shit that's undeserved.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when I heard some of those stories, kind of got a little bit. I mean, are are guys really like that? And evidently, yes. I mean, evidently, some guys are really like that and doing like crazy shit. Like, yeah, absolutely bonkers shit.
Yeah, and it's so unthinkable too.
It's very unthinkable. It's very kind of shocking, almost disbelief is like the word to to use, And I think that a lot of girls also get that, when they're approached in these ways, and this sort of shit happens. They just can't really compute how shocking it is,
Yeah, exactly. And you know the thing that I came to realize uh, related to that is that like all the things, these kind of stories that an average girl encounters throughout her lifetime
Hmm.
is quite disturbing.
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more.
And it's and that's made me a bit more how to say,
Jaded.
yeah, but also aware, and also you know I feel sorry sorry on their behalf
Yeah,
that they have to go through this
absolutely.
shit, because like for us, we also don't get this from, like,
No,
males don't get that,
absolutely.
right? So
We don't get anything, basically. I
yeah.
mean, like it's both like on the positive side and the negative side. I mean, I guess if you're really good looking as a guy, you'll get a little bit of attention. But
Sure.
average looking guys, we are blessed with being unbothered
Yeah.
by everyone.
Blessed with skin of chameleons.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It really is. And but it also, like, it's kind of interesting to see how that reflects in pop culture, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
sure.
that's kind of where I was going with that. And
And I mean, like recently, of course, there's been a lot of a lot of cleaning up going on to kind of at least bring attention to how much of this is going on behind the scenes and stuff like that,
Yeah, and
which is good.
it's absolutely good.
And yeah, but I can also kind of see that a lot of guys who not like this uh, maybe feel a little bit attacked, and
Right.
feel that it's like they because girls don't really. I mean, the instances where I got my stories
Yeah.
were always very much in confidence, and the girls were very much non-talkative about this,
Yeah.
or they didn't really want to disclose any information about it.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
was like, why would you fucking, told everyone about this? This guy should be fucking whipped, But
Yeah.
it's
Impaled.
like, yeah, and you can imagine how many stories go unheard and untold.
Yeah. That's a very disturbing thought, actually.
And then you kind of get that, okay, so there are, a lot of guys that are actually doing this. Because if I hear those stories, then there's a lot of a lot of those stories out there,
Yeah. Oh yeah, and so many of them are untold as well. And
Mm,
it's just for there was this other tidbit as well. You know how there's like
yeah,
this whole thing about worshipping little sisters in anime and manga.
yeah, yeah,
So this is like an interesting thing because for us that kind of like almost borderline incestuous
yeah.
obsession is like what the fuck? It's just no.
Borderline incestuous is
Yeah,
pure
something. Yeah, yeah.
incestuous.
Yeah, it's yeah, more often than not I guess it crosses the line. And yeah, the funny thing is there was this my ex, she had a roommate when she did exchange that was Japanese, and she was from the island Shikoku,
Hmm.
which is a relatively small island
Hmm.
outside of the main island of Japan. And it's it's a smaller community, right? And she grew up there, and she said that in this place it was well, they have a population of 3.8 million, so compared to Norwegian
Okay.
conditions it's
That's
large.
basically Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still in Japan this is like on the smaller side, right? So
Hmm.
and I guess the cities are smaller, and the distance between people is larger and whatnot, more
Hmm.
closed communities.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, but because I talked to her about this, just I don't know how we got to that topic, but it was just like, and she's like, yeah, but that's the thing, because all the guys in my class and stuff, they was also like, oh yeah, I would definitely love to date my little sister and stuff if she wasn't my sister. I'm like, what? Wait, what? So apparently that was a very common thing for them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
for her, this
That's
was like she found it disturbing, and she was like, but it was just like she was like, yeah, but it is what it is. It's just it's how they are.
yeah. Jesus Christ, guys, we need
Yeah,
to just I don't know the curious. Dial back on the horny.
go to
But
horny jail.
yeah, it's go to horny jail. I don't know. It's just apparently it is kind of some functionality of I guess an overstimulated sex drive or something like that.
Yeah, I can see how like because they're in Japan, a niche amongst the niche will still encompass at least like 100,000 people, right?
Yeah, right. So I guess like the numbers just kind of blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously there's gonna be a lot of extremities are gonna be explored and have quite a lot of people involved and interested in it, right? So
Hmm.
I guess that's just a part of it, and they're also quite open to letting people vent their
Sexual frustrations.
yeah, I guess so. Give them like outlets, which to some extent I guess is good. But I've seen
Yeah.
if you ever gone to a sex shop in Japan, dude, just for the marvel of it, you'll
Mm.
see some stuff that is gonna make you question where the nearest Slaneshi portal is because Slanesh
Yeah.
spawned that whole shop.
Oh yeah, I
I
can
mean,
imagine.
I can mention
Jesus.
some of the
Yeah, let's
highlight
hear it.
items
Let's
I
hear
saw.
it.
So all right, so the first thing that greeted me when I think this was in Shibuya, one of the like most bustling wards of Tokyo. So there's
Hmm.
this several multi-story sex shop, like for toys and drugs and all that kind of stuff, like performance enhancers and uh, toys, like I said, and then like videos and all this kind of shit. You owe it to yourself to just go into one of these and just like look around because like it's gonna
Yeah, it's an
fucking
experience.
yeah. But then you, you got to the upper floors and you're just like, okay. So the first thing I saw when I exited the stairs was this like display case with like a life-size bust, or like not even a bust. It was like a figure of Yoda, Hermit Yoda.
Okay, I was like preparing my mind there for anything very, sexualized or kinky.
Yeah, well,
But
it's coming.
Yoda?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it was a normal like Yoda figure, like a big one, and right next to
Okay.
it was like a fucking solid like 150 centimeter horse dildo.
Was it attached to Yoda or
No,
was it
they were
just a
just next
separate
to
thing?
each other.
Okay.
I was really like, why is it for size? What's going on here? And that kind of just set the tone for the rest of the experience because like they had they had like a specialized vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
literally a vacuum cleaner, but
Hmm.
except for like on the suction, like what do you call it, like the suction foot, like you know,
Yeah. The
it was
suction
just
head.
like a fleshlight kind of hole.
Okay. But I've never. So now we're getting okay. We're maybe not gonna go there, but is that even like good?
I don't know. I've never tried it. I thought that was the kind of thing
Okay.
that only showed up in movies like American Pie or a Scary Movie and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean it seems so parodic. I mean it seems so. Can it be? I mean I know you say suck dick, but it's not.
It's
It's not in a literal sense.
it's not like vacuumed.
No, it's not like fucking. It's not trying to pull your dick off its root. It's. Oh,
I don't know. This I wouldn't put it past people to have tried it, but use it regular. Yeah, I don't know. Just no.
yeah.
But apparently, it's such a thing that they have a specialized vacuum cleaner. And the funny thing is, the rest of it wasn't even like, how do you call that? Like sexualized or anything. It literally looked like a normal
Yeah,
vacuum cleaner.
it was just an appliance. It was
Yeah.
like it had like a brand name, Mitsubishi or
Yeah. I didn't
something.
look that closely, but probably like Dyson or something. That.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like just a regular built appliance that were
Yeah.
repurposed for. Yeah, right.
And then they also had stuff like more like disturbingly, because
Hmm.
this is more like a fun curiosity that you can laugh at. And then comes like the more weird parts, which is like they had like doll sleeves for your fleshlights and stuff, which would
Oh,
be like you kind of you can put a doll around it so that you know it
you
becomes like
were,
a character you
yeah.
want or whatever. But a lot of these sleeves were of like small, definitely not legal age characters.
No, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
what you're saying.
and I was just like, okay, how about we just
Move on over to
get
this
out of here?
section.
Let's just bail. But I guess
Yeah,
it's better
you would
that they
stick
can,
with the
huh?
cleaner. You would stick with the cleaner.
Rather the cleaner than the rest of the shit I saw. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Easier to explain, even I would say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Much easier. It's like, yeah, it suddenly got stuck in there somehow.
Yeah, and then you also like for the more fun items, you had stuff like Magnum condoms with like Fist of the North Star characters on them.
Imagine like, imagine, imagine pulling that out and saying like, "Oh my mama, Shinderu."
Yeah,
Oh, that would be hilarious.
yeah, I
But yeah.
know. It's a lot of it was a lot of fun. Just if you're ever in Japan and in Tokyo especially, just try to find these places. Unless you're on a family trip, in that case, stay the fuck away.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're there with friends and whatever, just take a look inside because it's like it's not even embarrassing because there's like completely all kinds of people are in there and it's completely normal. So that's a, like kind of like a progressive thing of them, I guess, that they're very it's all very
Yeah.
like business as usual, very common.
Right. And
So
as you said, like they kind of allow for that exploration of sexuality
yeah,
in a like you said, a little bit weird way, because they're like their view on on the sexes and on like traditional roles is like a little bit backwards compared to like the West, at least,
yeah.
or a little bit like old. But in terms of like that sexual exploration, that's much more accepted, I guess, in their culture.
Yeah, and I guess that's it's a very strange juxtaposition, and I haven't
Hmm.
studied any of this, so I don't know. There's probably some explanation or like theories on why this is, but it was just a very interesting contrast, and it was like it was a lot of fun to explore and just look around. So what can I say?
Yeah, so
Try it.
go do that. Try it out, guys.
We went
But
out of
back to reality here,
yeah back
where
to
we were discussing Forspoken, right?
yeah, yeah.
How, how the hell did we end up
I
here?
don't
Okay.
know.
Um, so the game looks good, but
Yeah.
like you said, it's a little bit like you feel that kind of, I guess, fourth wall breaking when there's someone from our time and our political environment being put into like a game world. It's always a little bit jarring, but it can work. Of course, it can work, and it does come with some positives as well, like relatability for some people at least.
Yeah, sure. And I just wish that they would either stick to one or the other. That it's because now it just looks like it's a real world person gets transported to a different world instead of like having a pure fantasy or rooted in our world but with enhanced powers, right? So
Mm,
and it was
yeah,
just something about the whole like, oh, is that a motherfucking dragon? It was just something about that delivery too that made it sound like very like, is this what you're going
yeah.
for? This is not
Mm.
what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until 2022. Slated for release on PlayStation and on PC, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that.
it, yeah, so we'll definitely follow it a little bit and kind of comment if there's any news on it.
Yeah,
Um, a little bit, positively angled, I guess you could say,
yeah, sure.
but not too hyped.
No, it's yeah. I need to see more footage before I can really decide like if this goes more in the direction that I am interested in or not.
Yeah, and Square Enix is Square Enix, and um, they always kind of deliver on at least the production value of side of things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, yep. And also today we're gonna delve into some movies because we were discussing that a little bit on the previous podcast before, and we'd like to kind of talk a little bit about some movies that we liked. And today we're going to talk about Tarantino movies.
Oh yes, it's probably gonna be. We're not gonna be able to cover everything we think about
No,
Tarantino movies
no,
in
no,
the
no, no, no.
remaining
It's
time,
just
but
going to be like a fun little discussion on it. And I mean, do you have like a favorite Tarantino movie, like a clear standing out? This is the absolute one.
that's a very tricky one.
Yeah.
There are some like peaks,
Hmm.
they're like top maybe a top three that's like excellent in my opinion, which is Pulp Fiction, and
Yeah, of course.
Inglourious Bastards, and Django
Mm,
is probably
yeah.
my top three. I don't know which I rank of the higher of them. It usually is the one I saw the most recently. you know.
Yeah. I know what you what you're getting at.
Yeah, but it's just because it's fresher in mind, so I remember all the good parts, and then I see the next one again. Like, let's say I watch Pulp Fiction on the plane or something. I'm like, wow, this movie is so fucking good, and I'm so hyped about it.
Mm.
And then I watched, and then that's my favorite. Then I see Django. It's like, oh man, this had so many good scenes too, and then that's my favorite. It's
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick.
yeah,
Um,
it really is.
and yeah, but those three you mentioned there is probably my favorite series. So that's
Yeah,
a little bit boring. But yeah, I mean, he's got such a distinctive style, and especially in these movies, which are characterized as very, Tarantino like,
yeah,
or very kind of specific to him, with like the glorified violence and the kind of cool build up of characters that is a little, it's not black and white, but like the theme is very black and whitey.
yeah,
But then the characters just have so much flair and depth to them.
yeah. So many layers.
Yeah, so many layers, and yeah, it's just fantastic to behold. I Yeah, it's hard for me to pick, a favorite. It would be like I think that Django and Inglourious Bastards is like
Top two.
tied. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
tied. I don't know if it's because they're more recent, but I love Pulp Fiction, but it's something about like Hans Landa
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and those characters are just so fucking good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's a good thing about that's one of the things that I really love about Tarantino movies that they really let their actors show what they're made of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's like once you get if you have an appreciation for really good acting, then you'll find something to like in all the Tarantino movies, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They lend themselves very well to kind of that character portrayal type of acting.
Yeah.
Uh, and like in Django, Jamie Foxx and Christopher Waltz, and of
Yeah.
course Leonardo DiCaprio. They're just such a magnificent trio in that movie. With yeah, everyone has like their very well built up personality and motivations, and the way they execute it. I mean, it's just pure perfection.
Yeah, I mean, like just an example for you know about this piece of trivia about the scene where they're at the plantation with Candy, DiCaprio's character,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he smashes the glass.
yeah, and he gets that glass cut right.
Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
that he actually got cut in real life, and he just
yeah,
kept rolling, and he smeared his actual blood on the face of the actress. So when she
yeah,
seems shocked, it's because she really is, and that sells the
yeah.
scene so much more.
It does, but still, I like retrospectively. I saw the movie after I knew that,
Okay.
and I thought that. I mean, it's kind of crazy to do that. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is.
DiCaprio was on like an actor's high during that
Yeah, I
during
think so.
that
But
scene.
but he really sold it as well. So it's like it just became like a
Absolutely.
legendary piece of trivia instead, right?
Yeah, yeah. And thus are legends born. I mean, so many good scenes. I mean, is that your favorite scene in the movie, or what is your favorite scene?
I like almost all the scenes that has to do with Christoph Waltz's character. He's my
Yeah,
absolute favorite.
he's
He's
so
so
good.
well written. His dialogue is just like it's so on point, and
Mm.
it just keeps bringing a smile to your face all the time.
Oh yeah,
And I think the scene where they clean out that city or like that town,
and
um,
that bar scene,
yeah,
where
yeah,
they go
yeah.
into the bar, and he's like, "What are you doing with that N word right there?" And he's just go and fetch the marshal.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
no. It's like it's not the marshal first. It's the sheriff.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's first get the not the marshal, get the sheriff, not the marshal.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
so fucking good.
That whole
Uh,
scene is so great.
oh yeah, I can rewatch that scene like 5 times over. No, it doesn't get boring. Like you
Yeah,
said, Christopher Waltz, just amazing actor.
and yeah, he absolutely is. And you know how um there are so many characters, or like, yeah, let's say actors and actresses
Mm.
that I grew way more fond of after seeing them in Tarantino movies, such as DiCaprio is one for sure,
Hmm.
and also Brad Pitt. Like
Yeah.
I remember I saw Troy in the cinemas when it came out, and I was a
Hmm.
little bit too young to appreciate that kind of stuff. And I remember I thought like Brad Pitt was just this kind of like jacked pretty boy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's my dad always hates those kind of characters, so he would just like bash him all the time, and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And then I saw Fight Club, and I was like, wait, this guy actually is really fucking cool.
Oh, yeah. Fight Club is so good.
Yeah, and I saw that one at just the right time in my life. And then I
Mm.
saw him in Inglorious Bastards. I was just like, man,
Yeah.
Aldo Raines, what a character!
Absolutely.
And then he's
Just
in, yeah, he's also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
and I haven't seen that, so
Yeah, I'm not gonna
and
spoil
I
for you, um,
no.
but let's just say that a lot of this movie is essentially Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt as very, very good friends in the movie industry, chilling out and hanging out in 1960s Hollywood is a lot of what this movie
Mm.
is about. So, um, and then you have the backdrop of the Manson murders as well,
Mm.
with Sharon Tate. And the funny thing is, this movie has a very extreme left turn towards maybe the last like what 30 minutes, and it's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours or something.
Mm.
Uh, and for us as Tarantino lovers, and who knows how he loves extreme violence, we
Yeah.
kind of figured that there's not going to be a Tarantino movie without it. So it's going to come at some point. And you see some
Yeah.
bits and pieces here and there throughout the movie that kind of like hints to it.
Hmm.
And like, especially with Brad Pitt's character, Cliff Booth, the stuntman,
Yeah.
he like he has some very he's a man with a lot of rage, let's just say, that's very
Mm.
kept in check under normal circumstances. And then I remember meeting my aunt and her well, they're not married, her boyfriend, longtime boyfriend,
Hmm.
at the cinema. And the boyfriend, he is like super into Tarantino. So when we
Mm.
met, because we happened to go there at the same time by coincidence, and we met, and me and him, we were like, yeah, man, Tarantino, blah blah blah, this and this, like super fan. And you could
Yeah.
tell my aunt, she's like this, like super nice and kind older lady, and she didn't have any kind of like, um, you know, how to say, history with Tarantino. I don't know how she is
No.
with violent movies, but I'm really curious what she thought about the last 30 minutes of this movie. Because there were people that left the cinemas, and it was usually couples.
Wow.
And
Seriously?
yeah, because I think a lot of people thought it was going to be almost like a buddy cop movie, or like a buddy comedy
Yeah.
flick, like drama comedy with Brad Pitt and
Hmm.
DiCaprio, which it kind of
Hmm.
is, but it's not that comedic.
No.
And I think very few people were expecting the last 30 minutes. But I loved them. I thought it was
Yeah.
such a great scene. And it was like, I was laughing and just sitting there, like grinning like an idiot the whole 30 minutes.
Yeah, because it's always, a little bit like you can't take the violence that seriously
No, not at
because
all.
it's so over the top.
Yeah.
So you can't really kind of sit there and, oh, this was too gory or this was too direct. But I just feel that he does it with that kind of, character and style.
Yeah.
It's almost a little bit cartoony.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. It's just something that works for me, and I don't feel that that violence, sickening feeling at all with that.
Yeah, same here.
basically.
And I think the scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a really good example of that because
Yeah.
it is very over the top and it's done in a way that's kind of like, yeah, it's funny and it's also like very sudden brutal. So you're like, whoa, you got that wow factor at the display of
Yeah.
like just absolute power, but then there's also like just the things that happen make you laugh.
Mm.
If you're like okay with violence, and
Mm.
then
Yeah. Of course.
and it's kind of like the same with Inglorious Bastards because there are scenes there where the violence is a little bit more somber, a little bit more like there's more tension.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like when they shoot the refugees in the cellar in that milk scene.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's very foreboding and ominous, and but I guess that you in the back of your mind know that there were people like this,
Yeah,
and this actually happened, so it kind of grimifies it a little bit more, and it's not as stylized either. The
no,
thing with that scene, it's basically Waltz, as Landa showing his almost demonic both intelligence and intimidation factor in that scene.
yeah.
And that's kind of the establishment for him, to basically say this is a very smart, very evil, cold guy.
Yeah. And you never know how much he knows, and he sells it perfectly.
No,
And
no.
and then you have that comedic violence in the movie as well. Like for example, any scene with the bastards themselves
Yeah, yeah, that's
is
absolutely that kind of over the top, super violent style.
yeah. And then you like for example when the bear Jew executes the Nazi guy with a bat.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it sounds horrible, and it is, but the way it's portrayed is more like it's just like whoa, bro. But it's kind of like it's also just like it's cartoony, and when
yeah,
they do that whole cinema massacre at the end with Hitler and Goering and all those people,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
so over the top.
yeah. So you can't really like take it seriously on based on the violence because it's just pushing the boundaries so far. So
Yeah,
you kind of get that, yeah, that's really not that realistic. So it's okay.
yeah, and it's also like Tarantino himself said, it's because it's fun, and
Hmm.
like over the top violence is fun, and yeah, in his movies it really is.
And you always get that good kind of vengeance-y feel also
Yeah,
from a lot of his movies,
yeah,
especially in Django, of course. I mean, the scene where Waltz kills Candy. Or
right.
it's not Waltz. It's not Waltz. It's or it's Walt's character.
Yeah,
I mean,
the bounty hunter.
yeah. What is his name again
I
in
don't
the
remember.
movie?
It's been a
I
minute
think
since I saw it.
he's actually a dentist, Steph.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, or former dentist. Yeah,
I mean, he's your ancestor essentially.
he's kin to me. Let me check. I need to check now.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
see here.
in there's this other scene in Reservoir Dogs
Hmm.
as well. You've seen that movie, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
So like Reservoir Dogs, as some of you may know and some of you may not, it's like Tarantino's first like proper movie, but it was also a student project, and it's
Hmm.
very very well done for that, and it actually launched the career arguably for quite a few actors, like
Mm.
Steve Buscemi,
Yeah,
Harvey
yeah.
Keitel was in it, and there's quite a few like I don't remember all of them right now. Michael Madsen was in it too. Now that I mention it. But speaking of Michael Madsen, he has this scene where it's such a genius. This is another thing with Tarantino that I love is his choice of soundtrack.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I don't know if you if you have guessed which scene I'm about to talk about, but there's this scene which is essentially a torture scene in which a guy gets his
Mm.
ear cut off, and it's pretty
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
But the choice of music and the little improv dance, like Michael Madsen completely improv everything in that scene.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, with the I mean, he was supposed to do like a certain like some things, like for example the slicing and all that, but then
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
put on the radio and then that song came on and then he just like started grooving to it as he's doing the torture, and for some reason it just fits so well that it was like a scene. it it was so bizarre. It's like an almost entertaining torture scene, which is like something I never thought I would say.
No, I mean, I mean, Tarantino just can, I don't know, make violence more palatable somehow.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? Uh, yeah, but that scene is amazing. It's been a long time since I've seen it, actually.
Yeah, it's I think they played Stuck in the Middle with You. I don't remember
Yeah,
by who, but it's such the song just fits so well. I had it on my phone for like
it,
a long time after.
yeah, it is stuck in the middle with you. It's the name of the character was Dr. King Schultz.
Ah, yes.
Yes, it
There
is.
we go. Always playing the immigrant, the European immigrant.
Yeah, I mean he fits perfectly. Even but he's master of many languages, actually European
Yeah,
languages, which he showed in Inglourious Bastards.
absolutely. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
I seem to remember having read something about like Tarantino wrote the role of Hans Landa, that he had to speak such and such like so much, this amount of languages, and but then he thought that he wrote an impossible part because he thought that like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a good actor that can speak fluently all those languages.
yeah, and not make it sound like you know like a foreigner speaking it, and then comes
No,
Christoph Waltz and he speaks it like, at least to us who's not native in those languages, it sounds natural.
absolutely. It sounds really good.
Yeah, and
So,
he just like even blew Tarantino away.
it blew me away too. Could blow me any day.
Oh well, okay.
No, no. But in all seriousness, Tarantino movies. I mean, I can't wait. We need to have like a movie night with Once Upon a Time.
In Hollywood, yeah.
Could
That
we could do like a review? Maybe we should do like an in-depth review of it.
we can do that. We can do that. And if you guys are up for it, if you listeners are up for that and want to hear something like that, then let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
And
And yeah, I
do,
think with that we'll just
we can sum up Tarantino in the sense that I think I would sum it up as like it's a treasure trove of brilliant movies with expertly written characters and dialogue. Maybe
Yeah.
not the kind of movies you would take your first date to,
No, of course
but
not.
if she suggests it, then you have a keeper.
Yeah. I just I just can't hear the word treasure trove without thinking of that meme. The glub glow gab galab. You remember?
Wait,
Do
what?
you remember that meme?
Which
The
one?
glub glow gab galab.
I don't remember that.
Don't you?
Just
You haven't seen that meme? Okay, I'll send it to you. And for those of you in the know, stay humid.
stay there.